Hi, I'm Tyler, 25 years old. My current residence is undefined, fluctuating between various locations. Originally hailing from Flagstaff, Arizona, I've been wandering from one town to another predominantly across the Southwest region over the last year. I run an online business, handle freelance design projects, manage some social media duties, and occasionally delve into cryptocurrency trading. This arrangement affords me a lifestyle of freedom. Without plans, a fixed schedule, or any ties, I spend my days exploring new landscapes, unfamiliar cities, eccentric diners, canyons, beaches, and people. My latest acquisition is an aged Dodge Challenger in deep blue, a two-door model that's quite noisy. It may not be perfect, but it fulfills a childhood dream. Many have scoffed at my decision to invest all my savings into it. However, their laughter means little to me, as it embodies the spirit of cinema. I drive along desert highways with open windows, listening to 80s rock or lo-fi beats while navigating the road. To take a swim, I would head to the lake. If I desired to socialize with new people, I might go to a bonfire gathering or a town fair. Though life wasn't perfect, it felt lively. On that particular day, the temperature outside reached about 104 degrees. I was traveling somewhere between Phoenix and Tucson on the highway, windows open, sunglasses on, sweating profusely, and blasting music so loud that my rearview mirror vibrated. I didn't have a specific destination. I simply wanted to see where the day would take me. What caught my eye was her. A woman in her early 40s wearing a black t-shirt, trousers, and a messy ponytail, standing by the side of the road with her hood down and trunk open. She looked enraged, drained, and fed up with the world. I observed her gaze at her phone, then the road, and finally back at her car. Ultimately, I drove past her. Truthfully, helping strangers was not something I typically do, but there was an unusual feeling in my stomach, perhaps due to the heat, that made me stop. Dear friends, please help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Please like and subscribe to our channel. It will motivate us to make more videos like this for you. Maybe it was due to her seemingly long stay there, or maybe it was my reluctance to continue driving. Regardless, I stopped, reversed the Dodge, and pulled over onto the shoulder. Rolling down the passenger window, I queried, "Are you all right here?" She seemed taken aback. Her tire was flat. She'd called roadside assistance an hour ago with no response. Stepping out of my car, the intense heat struck me harder than expected. Her vehicle had a torn rear tire, immobile. "Do you have a spare tire?" I inquired. In the trunk, she indicated yes. I hadn't anticipated this prolonged wait. She was drenched with sweat, her shirt clinging to her back, indicating prior exertion. "It'll only take 5 minutes," I reassured her, which seemed to me like an offer of assistance across a desert. "Indeed, indeed," I grinned. "Stay out of the sun." I opened the trunk, took out the spare tire, grabbed the jack and tools, and got to work. As I knelt down, I could feel the hot concrete searing through my jeans. But I'd done this 100 times before. Taking off the tire, replacing it, and tightening the nuts. Done deal. She watched in amazement the whole time. "Wow!" she exclaimed as I lowered the car back down. "That was quite a performance." I shrugged and wiped my hands on an old towel I had in the back seat. "No biggie. I didn't want to see you get worked up here." She laughed for the first time maybe all day. This straightforward, weary laugh said more than words. Then she asked, "So what are your plans for tonight?" I was taken aback. That wasn't what I anticipated. Truthfully, nothing was planned. I was just going wherever the journey led me. She looked puzzled. "Is that how you live?" "More or less," I nodded. "No ties, just freedom. New surroundings, new acquaintances, and novel adventures. Pausing momentarily, she gazed at the ground before meeting my eyes again. That seems quite enticing, I commented with a hint of skepticism. Many find such behavior careless. Perhaps I require a dash of rebellion at this moment, she mused internally. She then fixed me with a firm gaze. Would it be inconvenient if I had some company tomorrow? I chuckled. Are you being sincere? She responded with a slight smile and a shrug. It's been ages since I've acted on an impulse. If you're eager to seize the moment, I'd like to experience that as well. As I looked at her, sweat-drenched and sun-kissed, standing beside a partially damaged vehicle in the middle of nowhere, I could sense her sincerity, not just as a strange whim, but as if she genuinely yearned for it. Very well, I said. Pick a time. Please provide me with an address. I'll visit you in the morning. She nodded, retrieving a pen from her glove box and scribbling her hotel and room number on the reverse of a receipt. I gave her a tiny gesture goodbye, got back into my Dodge, and watched her in the rearview mirror as I departed. That interaction lingered in my mind. I found an affordable motel near next town to stay at overnight. However, I couldn't stop thinking about her. What kind of life did she lead that made her ask a total stranger for an escape from it, even if just for a day? I didn't know what the following day held, but I was certain it wouldn't be mundane. Despite not setting an alarm, I woke up early the next morning. It wasn't anxiety, my thoughts were just restless. Yesterday's events, the heat, the torn tire, her question, "What are your plans for tonight?" kept replaying in my mind. I wasn't sure what to expect from the day ahead, but it felt like a change was coming. I got out of bed, put on a fresh t-shirt, washed up at the cracked bathroom sink, and glanced at myself in the mirror for a moment. "Are you truly carrying this out?" I murmured, then smiled. Why not outside? The air was already getting warmer. I wiped the glass using a cloth, checked the oil as customary, and settled into the driver's seat of my Dodge. The car started with its habitual roar, loud and rough, just how I liked it. The note she had penned remained in the console. I inputted the motel address into my phone, leaned back, and took a deep breath before hitting the road. The motel was one of those old highway lodgings with a dim neon sign, a dusty parking lot, and a vending machine at the entrance that probably stopped functioning in the 1990s. I parked and made my way to room 7. The door was slightly ajar, and, as I prepared to knock, she walked out. She didn't look the same as yesterday. Her hair was neatly combed back, and she wore a simple blue shirt with jeans, no makeup, natural yet striking. But her face. That was the most significant transformation. Yesterday, she looked drained. Today, it seemed like she was attempting to reignite her feelings. "Hey," I responded, smiling. She returned the smile. "You're here. I told you I would." We climbed into the car without any words. I fired up the engine. "Any destination in mind?" I asked playfully. "No itinerary? That sounds like a plan to me," I added with a grin. "Are you certain about that?" She nodded. That's pretty much why I agreed. The expansive road lay ahead, so I turned right onto the picturesque trail. Not because of any specific destination, but because I liked how the road curved around the cliffs. The music played softly, just enough to break the silence between us. After a few moments, she spoke up. "By the way, my name is Rachel," she said. "And I'm Tyler," I smiled back. "I wanted to thank you for yesterday. I didn't express it properly." I simply shrugged. "It was just a flat tire," she corrected me softly. No, it wasn't. For a stretch, we journeyed without words until reaching an overlook I found recently. It's unpretentious, a scenic viewpoint, and some dilapidated benches with chipped paint. Still, it felt good to walk a bit. She stood at the edge, arms folded, taking in the view. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Few people realize this place exists, often rushing past overhead. She turned towards me. "Are you truly living like this, just traveling?" I affirmed. "Many consider it as shirking duties. I see it as staying balanced." She chuckled. "Once I was the opposite, meticulously planned every detail. Every expense was timely, each meal prepared, and every call returned. I believed that if I kept control tight, life wouldn't catch me off guard. So I asked." She shrugged nonchalantly. "Life doesn't care about our plans?" We settled down on one of the benches, her knees tucked in while my legs stretched out. Afterward, she started opening up about several hardships. Losing her job after 17 years due to company downsizing and being let go via a Zoom call, struggling with rent on a property she can no longer afford, and dealing with her husband leaving 2 years ago without saying goodbye. She said, "I thought I was doing everything right," adding that she wasn't drinking, cheating, or acting recklessly. Despite her efforts to show up daily, things still fell apart for her. She went on to say that sometimes all someone needs is to be heard, not to have their problems responded to. After a while, she got up and stretched, suggesting, "Let's go somewhere. The water there is cold enough to refresh you." She hesitated. "You're serious? Every time?" We drove another hour to a seldom visited canyon. Upon arrival, we parked, walked down a small trail, and stood by the water's edge. Although it wasn't deep, it was clear, mirroring the red rock walls like a reflection. I stared at her. She chuckled. "I didn't have a swimsuit on me. I was already unbuttoning my shirt." "Who said you needed one?" She shook her head, smiling. I spun around and dove in. The cold struck me harshly, shocking and invigorating. I resurfaced, gasping, and looked up. She stood there, arms crossed. "You're insane!" she yelled. "Perhaps." Then she moved closer. She removed her shoes, then her pants, and finally her shirt overhead. She wore a black tank top with boy shorts underneath. Nothing unusual, nothing provocative. Just a woman releasing the burden she had carried for too long. She leaped. The splash echoed down the canyon, and she resurfaced, grinning genuinely. The kind that makes your chest tremble slightly. We swam. "Conversations in water are nonsense," I splashed her. She splashed back with more force. For a while, we were simply people. No debt, no past, no anticipation. After our soaked and sun-baked encounter, she seemed a decade younger upon re-entering the car. Our journey was quiet, not as somber as before. Instead, it was peaceful. As we halted at a red signal, she cast a glance my way. She admitted, "Yesterday, I might have resisted assistance with the tire. Yesterday, I may have sought solitude." I acknowledged with a nod. "You're not alone in these feelings." She smiled softly before withdrawing her fingertips to tap gently against the open window as the wind blew through. I chose not to ask about our upcoming destination. Indifference filled me. We simply carried on driving. We made a brief halt at a quaint countryside gas station equipped with merely 2 pumps, a busted ice machine, and a feline resting in the shade of an aged pickup truck. Upon paying the attendant inside, I avoided eye contact. I procured 2 bottles of cold water and a pair of granola bars, one of which I tossed to Rachel upon my return to the car. She deftly caught it midair. "Breakfast?" I proposed the idea of an extravagant roadside breakfast. "Chef's special," she chuckled, using the term ironically. "Quite posh." We resumed our journey along the highway. The sun was ascending, casting a pale blue hue that is exclusive to deserts across the sky. Rachel relaxed in her seat, took a sip of water, and then looked at me. "I find it hard to believe I'm doing this," she confessed. "What are they up to?" entering a vehicle with an acquaintance and just driving, I nonchalantly replied. In technical terms, I assisted you with your tire. At the very least, that makes me a semi-acquaintance. She chuckled again. Clearly, not even close. Earlier that day, I had no desire for anything outlandish. I didn't think it was necessary. However, she seemed to be yearning for common fun, the type that doesn't result in injuries or charges. So I took her to Cave Rock, an old favorite of mine that I used to adore. There's a minor waterfall, a stationary taco stand, and a view of the cliffs that leaves your heart fluttering. We parked beside the taco stand, climbed onto the car's hood, and had lunch. Spicy carnival-style beef tacos, zesty salsa, and a chili-flavored Coke. Rachel fell silent halfway through hers, gazing toward the hills. "What's on your mind?" I inquired. She paused for a moment. I had forgotten what it felt like to be carefree. I nodded slowly. "It requires effort. Few can manage it." She stared back at me. "Do you often ponder about the future?" "Constantly," I replied. "But I make an effort not to let it overwhelm me." We sat there for a spell, with a gentle breeze rustling the taco wrappers around her feet. The air carried the scent of cilantro, sunshine, and dust. Post-lunch, we took a short walk along the cliffside. Although the view wasn't striking by postcard standards, it held a sense of serenity, a place where one could lose track of time for hours. Rachel stood close to the edge again, arms crossed. "Earlier, I used to meticulously plan everything," she elaborated. "My calendar was categorized. I kept records for vacations. My ex found that irritating about me." I looked at her. Was he the impulsive type? She let out a humorless chuckle. He was self-centered, insisting on having things his way. I went to extremes to keep order, ultimately losing myself in the process. I remained silent. There wasn't anything I could say to improve the situation. At times, all you can do is stand by as someone reflects. She cast a glance at me. "You seem familiar," she said, "before life turned into a to-do list." I responded with a tender smile. "I'm not exceptional. I just haven't experienced what you have so far." She shook her head. "That's the point. You chose this. You didn't wait for everything to crumble. You do it because you want to." I wasn't sure how to reply, so I didn't. We continued driving. The afternoon was serene and delightful. We played music louder than usual, some classic rock ballads. She favored a few acoustic tracks. She started softly singing along to one, then grew louder. Her voice wasn't exceptional, but it was genuine. She looked at me. "Ever take girls out for drives like this?" I grinned in response. She'd given numerous rides, yet none returned for a second day. She grinned, glancing out the window. Fortunate indeed, we found ourselves at a riverbank eve. No grandeur, just a tranquil curve in the water and some weathered stones to unwind on. She discarded her shoes, submerging her feet. I sat beside her watching the sky turn orange. "I think today has saved me," she murmured softly. I studied her. What was it that vanished? She wasn't dramatic. Her tone hinted at a brink she was about to cross. Today had pulled her back. Not for good, not forever, but enough. "I needed to feel like I mattered beyond stress," she clarified. "Like I could laugh or indulge in tacos without counting calories, bills, or age." I nodded. "You can?" She fixed me with a gaze. "Thanks to you," I swallowed, feeling the words catch in my throat. That struck harder than expected. Not because I was flattered, because I believed her. We exchanged few words after that. We heard the sound of water, wind rustling leaves, and buzzing insects. As night fell, we headed back to her motel. She lingered in the parking lot without promptly leaving, instead keeping her hand on the door handle. Thank you, Tyler, for reminding me of who I am or who I could still be. I gave a single nod. You owe me nothing, she smiled. I understand, but I will remember this. Every detail. She opened the door, stepped out, and made her way cautiously to her room. I didn't follow behind. I also didn't ask for her phone number. We both knew it wasn't that kind of encounter. Sometimes, people enter our lives to remind us we're still alive, and at times, that alone is enough. After Rachel entered her room, I stayed seated in my car for a while, watching the motel lights flicker on one by one. A slight chill filled the air, yet warmth lingered on my skin, not just from the sun, but from the entire day's events. Her encounter lingered in my memory. She chuckled. The manner she surveyed the lake, she emphasized that I should sense my own existence. Eventually, I departed from the parking lot and sought a tranquil location to rest for the night. If I bought some food from an affordable roadside diner nearby, I could sleep in my car within their parking lot. So, I grabbed a coffee and a piece of pie, nodded at the drowsy waiter, and reclined my seat. That night, I didn't dream. Instead, I experienced a profound sleep, the kind that ensues when one's mind finally quiets. In the dawn, I cleaned the windshield using the diner's spray bottle and paper towels, brushed my teeth in the restroom, and returned to the car. I hadn't intended to meet Rachel again. It didn't feel incomplete. Rather, it seemed conclusive, though brief. It felt as if we both enacted roles unconsciously. However, before reaching the highway, I noticed her once more. She was walking along the roadside. Her backpack was slung across one shoulder. I eased my pace and lowered the car windows. "Are you walking towards Mexico?" She looked startled yet laughed. I ended my day early. All I needed was a change of scenery. "Need a ride?" She glanced skyward before fixing her gaze on me. "Yes, sure." She climbed in. No queries, no anticipation. Our day had no set course, just an open road like last time. I selected the more prolonged city outskirts route, a two-lane road that twisted through the hills. We passed dry riverbeds, dilapidated barns, and a shuttered amusement park with vines covering the barrier. "Let's stop here," she suggested as we passed a corroded sign stating Crystal Falls, 2 miles ahead. I informed her that there was no water in Crystal Falls anymore. It didn't matter. I enjoy this name. So, I drove onto the dirt path and continued until we hit the fence. We jumped it somewhat illegally and hiked down the old trail. Although the falls were dry, the rocks remained. Gigantic sun-baked stone slabs akin to forgotten stairways were where we settled down. She discarded her shoes once more. "My feet will be soiled by today, a mark of pride," she chuckled, reclining on her elbows. "Ever pondered over whether drifters like us are always running from something?" I questioned. "Yet not everyone who flees gets lost. At times, you flee because standing still is more harrowing." Her gaze seemed to penetrate me deeply. "Do you truly believe that?" "Indeed." A moment of silence followed. "I suspect I've spent the past 2 years suppressing my feelings. It was all about survival, ensuring the power stayed on, making it through the week. I had forgotten what it meant to yearn for anything." Later, she remained silent for a while before looking up at the sky and softly murmuring, "Now, I long for more days like this." We spent hours outside chatting about trivial matters, her favorite films, my most regrettable date. She shared a story of self-haircut after watching a YouTube tutorial, while I recounted an incident during a road trip when I ran out of fuel just short of a gas station. We burst into hearty laughter, the kind that resonated deeply. At one instance, she remarked, "I'd forgotten what it was like to have someone truly listen." I looked at her, taken aback by her words. I too had been missing genuine conversations. As the sun started setting again, we got back into the car. The music played softly. We were quiet, not uncomfortable. It was the silence of those who no longer needed to fill it. As we crested a hill, she asked, "May I ask you something? If this ends today, will you forget about it next week?" I met her gaze. "No," I replied silently. She nodded as if she understood. She said, "Neither do I." We returned to the motel where she had left her belongings at the counter. The clerk waved as she walked by. She received her possessions outside by the car, and standing there, she said, "Farewell." I merely shrugged. "The choice is yours," she hesitated. "What would we become if we continued like this?" I looked at her intently. "I cannot tell. Perhaps we're just two people trying to stay alive." She smiled weakly. "Tyler, I must sort out my life. I can't keep escaping, even if it feels good." I understood. She moved nearer and tenderly touched my arm. Yet, I yearned for more than words could express. I did too. As she leaned to embrace me, it was not a prolonged or romantic one, but warm and grateful. When she stepped back, she said, "Be gentle with yourself. Protect this freedom. You are both its keeper," I responded. She took a step backward, bag in hand, and left. I waited before starting the engine. I watched her until she disappeared inside, and that was it. An unexpected day. A connection need not endure forever to be significant. No vows, no remorse. Two individuals who happened to cross paths under necessity. One evening, I resumed driving, boosted the music volume, sealed the windows shut. My old Dodge remained the same, the expansive sky too. Yet, a shift within me occurred, and it was exhilarating. A week elapsed, finding me 3 towns distant, camping at a friend's place in New Mexico, when I spotted someone with a familiar gait, upright, composed. Her shoulders seemed weighted, as if she was still mastering her own carriage. However, upon turning, it wasn't Rachel. I hadn't anticipated seeing her. In truth, I had no expectations, and perhaps that was the crux of it all. The days post our parting felt altered, though not in a dramatic or wrenching manner. Rather, they grew quieter, more perceptive. Life proceeded as usual, marked by my nomadic existence and absence of plans. Yet, the way she perceived the world seemed to leave an imprint on me. One day, I found myself seated on a rock, similar to the dry waterfall we had once perched upon, along a secluded canyon path near Santa Fe. The same pale sky overhead stirred recollections of how memories can unexpectedly emerge before an event concludes. She hadn't contacted me, we hadn't shared contact details, and there were no digital interactions or emails between us. Not even a promise to maintain connection. Yet, she was present in my thoughts, hinting at her presence subtly. For instance, I remembered her joyous expression while savoring tacos at a gas station, or when a rock melody played and she sang along unabashedly, or when driving on an empty road, slowing down to check if someone needed assistance. I never encountered another moment like that one again. I didn't seek it out. However, 2 weeks later, an unexpected event transpired. I received a letter, received via mutual acquaintance. This wasn't a text or email, but an old-fashioned letter. I hadn't given my details to that man from the roadside cafe months back, yet Rachel had sought me out and left a message. The envelope was small, containing just one sheet of paper with her neat handwriting. A corner had some ink smudges. It read, "Tyler. I wasn't sure if this would reach you, but if it does, I hope you're still somewhere between non-existence and the uncharted." I've been pondering a lot since that day about how easily one can forget oneself. Remembering you helped me recall, though that day didn't solve everything, it did remind me that I wasn't shattered, just hidden. I returned home, sold some possessions, paid off debts. Now staying with my sister, not ideal, but a beginning. Not ready for the open roads yet, but prepared to take baby steps. While drafting this, I had a momentary pause and wanted to express gratitude. You needn't feel compelled to respond. This was about wrapping up an interaction appropriately rather than initiating anything new. Thank you for helping me with my tire, and thank you for restoring a sense of humanity within me. Rachel, I've read your note twice, even a second time. Then I carefully folded it and returned it to its envelope, storing it alongside old gas station receipts and maps in the glove box. No tears fell, no emotions overwhelmed me. Instead, I sat in my car, smiled to myself, and whispered, "You're welcome." That marked the conclusion of our exchange. There was no romance, no reunion, no dramatic turns. Simply a genuine moment that meant something significant to two authentic individuals for just the right duration. Rachel found her ground, while I continued on mine. We didn't transform into something more. Instead, we became each other's somebody for a fleeting instance in life. Perhaps that suffices for now. Engaged engine, subtly amplified sound system, and departed onto the vast highway. Same Dodge, same skyscape. Yet, I'm no longer the man of old.